Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the San Francisco Dynamo Music Group for this month, June. And we have a special guest from Mexico. He flew here. Maybe you ride a bicycle. He came with a bicycle together to introduce him in a best way. So he worked with a CONSTRUBIM, right? So they are actually a consulting company, and he's Samuel Barcenas. Yeah. Okay. And he's going to show a really interesting presentation about project delivery. So a couple of announcements before started. The first is a new plugin, is Bison for Grasshopper. So actually, well, how we said, is not only Dynamo, but it's only visual programming. So Bison for Grasshopper helps to analyze all the meshes and also create meshes in the best way as possible with Grasshopper. So the next that I'm really excited to explain a little bit deeper is Lunchbox ML. They develop the program both for Dynamo and Grasshopper, and they release a new component that is slightly different from the K-means. It's a Gaussian mixture, and it's based on unsupervised learning, and it's going to help you to find a subpopulation in the overall population in a mixture way. So it's going to really help if you have problems about clustering of a panel system. A great example arrived directly from Mexico, from Sumaya Museum, is a new city map from Fernando Romero also. So going further, there is a really interesting workshop in Milan, in Italy. I'm not biased, actually. So it's going to be digital design and production in architecture. So it's going to be coming soon in July. The next one is going to be in Boston about Beyond AAC. Is another hackathon that is going to be actually in Friday, 20th of July. The other one is going to be really soon. So this is the WebXR month. So if you're not familiar with the WebXR, it's part of a combination between VR and augmented reality, to make it simple. And they translate the API from the web VR to the WebXR. And just yesterday, they announced they become a working group. So legally, the IP is going to be developed from all the company like Mozilla, Google, and so on and so forth. So this is really important because it's the first in the world where they try to combine both systems and create this experience like the most famous movie, Ready Player One. So you don't need to install any app. It's going to directly give you a URL and you can have your experience directly on the browser. So the next one is Acadia. It's going to be hosted in Mexico City. It's one of my favorite conferences, honestly, and really excited. So if you can go there in October from the 18th to the 20th, it's going to be awesome. This one is the last announcement. It's going to be BIM BOP 2018 in July 12th. So as always, I would like to thank our organizer and all the people that help here, like HOK, Gensler, AIA, and Imagine It, and Ideate, also for the lunch provided. So the next meeting is going to be the 18th of July, and it's going to held from two amazing speakers, actually, Cesar Escalante and Alberto Tono. The topic is going to be about augmented reality and also another kind of visual programming tool that we would like to show to everyone. Is called FME in particular. So yeah, we are ready to start with Samuel right now. He's going to present how design technology drives change on project delivery. So welcome here to Samuel. Okay.
Well, hi everyone. First, I want to thanks Cesar and Alberto and everyone here that is actually getting involved in all the visual programming kind of material, because it's really a really good thing. And just to give you a quick introduction of who I am, who are we in our firm. So basically, my name is Samuel. I'm an architect. I'm 3 years old. I have a LEED Green Associate accreditation as well. Mexico, as as the same as the United States. We work with a lot of norms that comes from the AIA, USGBC, stuff like that. So we kind of on the same page on that. I've been working for the last 10 years in different areas of the AEC industries. Almost 10 years as a Revit user. That I started when I was in university, and around 2 years like working with Dynamo scripts. For the last 2 years, I've been working with CONSTRUBIM. We are a team about 40 employees in Mexico City. We focus our work on parametric design, on BIM management, modeling, applications for Revit, Navisworks, web, big data, consulting, and construction as well. Internally, we work like as a collaborative team, and we put all our efforts together so we can make solutions for our clients. You can check out our website, construbim.com, and you can see some of the stuff we have there. Like the web page right now is just Spanish, but you can actually just contact us in English, whatever, and we can just talk about anything you want to know more about. One of the things that I want to focus today is that I want everyone to understand is that architecture is one of those things in life that makes society, makes arts, and in a way that can actually change our perception and the citizens' livability. Okay, so that's one of the main things that I want to everyone like get today. And right now, just for like something else really quick, one of our biggest projects right now is like as Autodesk partners. We are working for the new International Airport of Mexico City to doing management of all the models for the airport, not just what Foster and Free and everyone is doing, but also for like the whole thing that the rest of the contractors are doing, like Arab and other companies like that. Okay, so this presentation basically is going to focus in two things that I believe that are really important. One is technology, and the other thing is emotions. Okay, so these two things are changing our perception to visualize and understand projects, trying to establish a relation between traditional phases between construction and identify how these ones are changing because of technology. Okay, so today what I want to talk about is basically how we perceive projects as schematic design, design development, construction documents. And I'm gonna put like a vision of how everything is changing out there in the business. Okay, so this is really important for everyone to understand because technology has been driving us to do it and changing all the standard procedure that we've been doing the last couple of years. After we explain this, I want to share with you a quick vision for computational design and future series and what's going on with this subject. And a couple of questions that I think is important before I start talking is that we need to understand how do we create cities together? Who can create and imagine the bell of the cities right now at this moment? I want to talk also about what is the technology and knowledge, what do with it, do we need it, and where are the users of this new technology? Okay, it's really important that we start finding where is these people and what's going on with them. So. Okay, the first part, coming to the presentation, the first part of the presentation is going to be, okay, about emotions, as I mentioned. So I want to start with this. I want to start about the dreaming, okay? So I believe this is the main quality we have as computational designers, because of this ability, we are already changing our industry. So the dreaming is kind of like have it in your head, okay? Have it in your imagination. So, for example, I wanna give you this quick example to everyone. So I was going to be a musician. I'm a bass player actually, and however I didn't choose it. I had a dream that I went to the uni and just asked information about architecture. It was something really random, but I kind of pursued that dream. And the first semesters that I was in uni, I kind of believed that I made like a massive mistake. But like keep going to that, keep pursuing that dream, and I actually turned out to be something really, really good in my life, something that at this moment I kind of love. So it's really important that we understand what does the dreaming implies as computational designers as well. That's the reason I'm coming with this subject. And to make a point about it, I call it the rest in peace, but for us is the risk, the intuition, and the prediction, okay? This is what computational designers basically have in their head. They need to have. So I'm gonna talk about this rest in peace that we have. So first of all, to go out there and talk about computational design is actually taking a risk, you know, because computational design is not like it's not like this exact science in some sort of way as mathematics is, but we need to kind of experiment with everything. We need to take risks all the time so we can find proper solutions for like for clients. I want everyone to imagine this kind of idea that if you go into a place, the first thing you wanna think about is how you're gonna go to this place. Okay, if you're going, you need to move, and you know, like some stuff can happen on the way there, but like at the end of the day, you can change the direction, you can do a lot of stuff, but you want to kind of just go it. So that's kind of the dream with the computational designers. You want to go and you want to start doing stuff. So it doesn't matter how your script change, how the client changes his mind. You need to kind of adapt to all of these things, and doing that is actually taking a risk. If we need to kind of get it like that. Intuition, in my opinion, is the main ability that computational designers are developing right now. So that's really, really important that computational designers have a high sense of intuition inside them. That's the way I see it. That's how I perceive people doing it. And so it's kind of like intuition is kind of like when I'm going to this place, I know I'm going to use my legs just to kind of start going to a place, you know, but I'm not actually thinking a lot about using my legs. That's something that I already have inside me. So computational designers have like this kind of sense inside them. They already know how to move. They already know how to kind of go and use the software, or even if they don't know, they have some sort of idea in their mind. And the last one is the prediction. So the prediction is something that I can see kind of people experiencing in the offices right now. Like we are like solving problems all the time. That's our main thing. We are kind of experiencing the same concerns like around the frames, around the projects, around like our work. And the prediction will be kind of like if I'm going to this place again and I need to predict what's going to happen. So the first thing, the first things that I'm doing is kind of look into the window. If it's sunny, I know I need some water. If I see like that is cloudy, I might take like some umbrella to cover from the rain. So that's kind of the prediction for computational designers. They're like always kind of understanding what's going on before they start like developing something into a project. Okay, and the last and really important thing about the dream, sorry about that, is that we actually need to live the dream. Okay, living the dream, that's the main goal. Computational designers work a lot, but because we are creating a reality. Okay, so we cannot just be playing around, just making a lot of experiment if we're not actually going to apply everything to the reality and put it out there in the world. Keeping with the emotional side, I believe emotional intelligence is often related to our emotions, relationships, feelings, social awareness, leadership, energy, and motivation, and so on. And this particular intelligence is not often linked to computational design. And I think this is something that we need to start like be conscious about it. It is crucial to have some balance, especially for the job we are developing. Computational designers are creative thinkers, and we can absorb a lot of changes in a really short period of time. I think that's also a really good ability as computational designers, but also many changes represents a lot of lack of stability, okay? So that's something we have to kind of put out there in a balance so we can understand what's going on with the computational designers. So we need to add this intelligence to the formula and for the collaboration as well, because I have seen like a lot, well, the people that I have met that are computational designers that are using visual programming tools and stuff kind of need to develop more intuition in that sort of relationship with the collaboration, because at the end of the day, our work has a lot of collaboration inside it, and we're kind of not paying attention to these kind of details, and I think it's, again, super important. There's like a lot of research. We have a lot of experimenting going on with the tools, and you know, like we don't always know if when we start like doing programs, when we start like doing scripts, when we start like doing all these kind of things, if we're going on the right direction. And so sometimes, and especially in this kind of job, we kind of like battle with a lot of kind of mistakes and problems. We have to restart all over again once in a while. and it's important to kind of be stable and be actually prepared to do it, you know, because failure is something that is happening constantly here, but failure doesn't mean that you're not gonna be able to kind of find a solution for it, okay? So one of the other things that I think is important for the filling part is that doing scripts and all these tasks requires some sort of innovation on the solution. So we can go through a lot of process, we can invest a lot of time, we can do a lot of thinking, we can do a lot of discussion, we can go for like up and downs again, and all of this process that is internally happening in the emotional side of the people is actually going us and taking us closer to a solution for like what's going on out there. So for example, one thing that happened to me, and this is a personal experience, is that in Mexico, there's not like a huge amount of people doing visual programming. There's not like a lot of people doing scripting and stuff like that. So when I started like learning about it, it was kind of really annoying to those that don't have the opportunity to share this kind of knowledge with people like around the work and stuff, like something regular, something that is really good for me. So the first time that I met like someone that I was actually using also like Dynamo and doing scripting and stuff, for me was like something really, really good, like being able to share with someone what's going on and in the world, and just experiencing all this is really, really good. I don't know if you have normally this kind of like work all around in your offices, but like it took me like almost like a year and a half to just met the first person that actually used Dynamo, and still I haven't met like just like another 3 persons that actually use Dynamo right now. So this is kind of something that is not only happening in Mexico, but it's happening all around the world, because most of the things that I figure out like about Dynamo and stuff come from the States, come from Italy, some of them come from UK and stuff like that. But if you go to South America, Central America and stuff like that, and all these countries, there's not like a lot of people like using this kind of technology, and this technology is kind of moving really fast. So we need to kind of adapt to this, okay? So it's really important that we think as one emotion instead of one thing for computational design and emotional intelligence. They need to be linked. So cities, is in a city the biggest entity where emotional intelligence gets together? So the reason I come up with this question is because our dreams are changing. Technology is a new tool that is letting us, each one of us, to understand and comprehend everything better and faster. We dream because we want to create some sort of reality, a reality where shared feelings, lifestyle, education, food, art, logistics is just like a massive reality among us. And we need to kind of understand that this is happening thanks to the cities. A huge change is happening around the world and how we understand architecture and construction, and only a few users are like really being conscious about this. Okay, so we need to kind of think about this. We need to pay attention to the power and advantage we are experiencing right now, thanks to the technology that we have in our hands these days. So one last thing here for the emotional area. It's really important that we develop our emotional intelligence. It's really important by practicing different cultural activities. You can actually develop this kind of being able to go and take risks, being able to go and do some intuition, and being able to go and do some prediction. That's things because people is doing different activities. Don't stay just like working around in the office and be in the office like 100% of the time. It's really important. I highly recommend that everyone has like some sort of different activity that helps to the brain and helps to the emotion side of the human, so they can actually start developing this. Okay. So, okay, going to the main subject right now. So, how design technology drives change in project delivery. Well, first, schematic design. This is the first phase. So schematic design is recognized as the initial phase where the main ideas appear for a design, as well as the ideas for modeling and scripts nowadays. As users of scripting, we are becoming time savers in efforts and execution as well. Let's be really clear about this. the free-form thinking is 100 ways faster than the traditional way we used to do models. So right now, like everything is like super fast. So that's something really good. And right now in this phase, we have a lot of time to do experiments, to have imagination, to create the model, to recreate the model all over again. We can put like all the essential ideas and do some methodologies that intervene to the project, like Revit, Dynamo, Rhino, Grasshopper, all these visual programming tools and other software that are giving us the tools that we need to actually experiment and to be able to understand these kind of technology. Even Excel, even kind of software that I used to believe that they were like really boring. Right now, for me, like an Excel sheet is like really good, and I kind of love that. So something that is changing, and I think is super important that we kind of consider, is the schematic data. Okay, these days, thanks to all these visual programming tools, we have schematic data. We didn't used to actually use data until we were like in another phase of the project. But right now we are dealing with the information, like even if it's basic, we need to consider when we are doing scripting, what is the main information that we are using to create a model, and how can we use this information to actually take advantage of it in other phases. Also, the interpretation of a project is changing, and it's not just the geometry anymore. Like I have this quick image right here, but this is just like a basic hexagon shape kind of. But right now, if you see to the shape and you go deeper to the shape, you look into points, you look into numbers, you look into areas, and you need to start like thinking about all this information that is inside this basic model, because that's what, if you identify all this information before like people even start asking for it, you're gonna be able to actually improve your process for the future of the project. So we need to put our eyes there in the schematic data, so we can have a lot of analysis or pre-analysis. That's how I see it in the schematic data. And also we need to make questions in the schematic data, because if we see a project or the schematic data as being A, the part A, if we divide a project in A, B, and C, and the schematic design is the part A, we need to understand that in the part A of a project, we have the whole vision for the project. So we need to kind of put like a lot of questions in this phase, like how's the geometry, what's the data, what's the information that I'm gonna start like dealing with, so I can prepare like before to go to the next phase. And is there like a sequence for like the elements, for example, in these images? And that's something that we need to kind of have in our mind. And again, like thanks to the greatness of technology and the speed we can play with the parametric model, creativity has become like also information, but it's a really good practice to be like thinking in data before like people even know that there's data in a model. Okay, so let's think about that. And I want to show a couple of images right now that we are working with, like for a project. Organize a script, using your script the best as possible. And I choose this image because basically what we did for this kind of arrangement of the project was like start working with the schematic of the project. But actually, the first part of the whole script that I was developing, I use it like as a basis to create the rest of the whole model for this project. So it's really important that we identify what kind of information can I use, so I can actually start like using all the information later in the process. At the beginning, I only use like basic information, but from the basic information, I can start like developing a lot of information to the model and for the script. So that's really helpful. So this is like, for example, completely like kind of the same thing, different geometry, different part of the project. But if you see the first part of the script, it's basically the same script that, thanks to be able to actually understand what's going on with the information, I was able to kind of work with a script that it was going to help me further in the process, instead of just wasting time and splitting like the script in different areas. So I think it's really important that we kind of like organize these, identify the data, and understand that there's like a schematic data right now happening in the projects. And just again, like parametric models is super fast. Creativity can just change all the time. We can play with the projects all the time and do a lot of things thanks to this technology. So design development as well is changing, and I call this the solution development phase. That's how I see it right now. So design the development is basically go deeper into a project and we find and solve problems for geometry, for the engineering, for the map systems and everything, solutions for sustainable techniques as well. And even when design development has the purpose of solving, this doesn't really happen out there in the offices, in the world. So today we are actually solving most of the problems in this phase of the project. And I will say that even logistics for construction should be solved in this phase. That's how our precision should be, and for a project nowadays. And I think that having logistics in this phase of the project, it might sound like really crazy, but I believe that we need to kind of transform the whole industry to go even faster to this point, so we can understand even logistics at this stage of a project. Because otherwise, like if you're gonna build a tower, if you're gonna do a massive building, it's gonna take like what, like 5 years at least right now if you actually build it. And in 5 years, like a lot of things are gonna happen. So if we actually don't prepare ourselves to be able to kind of minimize the changes throughout this period of time, we're gonna kind of be like just doing a lot of process that in the future is gonna be almost useless, and they're gonna need to rerun the whole process that you already do like before in a project. So we need to actually start thinking like, what sort of materials can I transport? Like who's providing things? Even like where does the builders are coming from? The builders, can we help somehow to create like carpool systems? Like we need to think like more about a project. We cannot just like believe that doing like a couple of things are gonna help, but we need to kind of take a step further for this. And so yeah, the design development I think is the part of the project, the phase that has the more opportunity to actually be improved. And this phase, this design development, is actually the part that I call where we actually do all the discovering of the project, the major discovering, the major decisions of the project are happening. The scripts, instead of being used to actually model stuff, model things, the script needs to be used to analyze and see what's going on with the geometry and the behavior of the geometry. So the work structure of the projects are completely being like reordered, and this is happening right now, at least in our offices. So we need to be really conscious also about this. Something that I have noticed about this phase is that backwards means advanced. Okay, the new design development phase is actually an exchange between the schematic design and the design development. So these two phases are the whole time, they are like kind of just talking between them. So we need to understand that we don't kind of leave the schematic design the whole time, but design development and schematic design are talking the whole time, and they're like exchanging information between these two phases. So it's really important that we kind of notice this. Again, like a lot of data, a lot of discoveries are happening in this phase, so we need to put that in the cycle. Normally, based on my experience, people is finding the solutions like after the construction documents are finished, and they're still like working on finding solutions. And I think that in this phase, we have the opportunity to have like all the solutions that we want. We can just like kind of experiment with the solutions and take like maybe 5, 4, 6, whatever the number of solutions you want. And at the end of the day, you can have like the best solution or the effective solution according to your project. But it's the phase that you need to kind of do a lot of discovering and experiment for geometry, for contractors, for the materials, for everything. So this is kind of the main phase right now in our industry. The design development, I think, is the main main phase of all the project, and this is where you can spend like a lot of time. You can be doing like design development the whole time, like for even 2 years, 3 years, whatever the time you need. But you need to kind of invest a lot of knowledge, a lot of time, a lot of people, a lot of team doing this, the design development, instead of trying to solve everything really fast and just go to a construction documents phase when you don't even have like proper solution or good solutions to actually put out there. So the design development, if we see it like as the part B of a project, talking again about the A, B, and C, and the P part of the project is basically, I want everyone to picture like a mountain, and you can have like many paths to go to the top of the mountain. So in the B part of the project, in the design development, you can actually take a look to all the paths of the mountain right now. Thanks to the technology, you can choose at the end of the day which path you want to use to go to the top of the mountain, you know. But right now, thanks to the tool, we are able to actually just go all around the project, do a lot of thinking, and at the end, we're gonna select the path that is the best for our project, the path that is applying the best for like for our solution. Again, the scripts in this phase are being used to do analysis, are not anymore like for like developing better geometry, but it's kind of like a game of playing between the geometry, but like the geometry already has a lot of information on it, and you can actually start like looking at really good details with all that is happening in this phase. Another example just of what's going on with the projects. And this is something that I actually kind of like a lot of this image, because this is kind of a cluster analysis of some panelization, but it's really important that we understand that all this information actually came out from the script. It was just transferred to an Excel file, and this is just a quick way so that we can show to our clients, to our people, what's happening in a model in a different way. It's not just scripting. We need to actually understand that there's like a lot of tools out there that are helping us to improve our work and our analysis, and there's different ways that we can represent that. So that's actually the reason I'm sharing this one with you. I kind of like it a lot. And the construction documents phase. So this is the last phase of a project, and I call this one the print hello wall. I don't know. Well, I imagine that most people is familiarized with this hello wall, that you just kind of go for like a program language and you just print it, and there we go, hello world. So I think that construction document phase should be something like that. Instead of going to this phase and doing all these sheets and trying to do all these kind of document exchange in a lot of ways, right now we need to start like thinking where I'm going to storage all the information, because sheets honestly are useless anymore in our industry. People needs to understand that we need to actually give to our clients like a different way that they can actually have the solution, have the information, how they're gonna use it. So we need to kind of restart like this whole thing. And something that I believe that is appealing nowadays that we didn't used to have before is what I call a team data. So there's people already just working with data at this phase of the project. That his main job is actually to do data administration and how they can share the data with the clients to be easier. So okay, so kind of like going back to the example of the mountain, like if we are already on the C part of the project and we want to enjoy like being at the top, but at the moment that you are in the top, like just imagine you were like climbing the mountain and you were like taking all these selfie pictures with your cell phone like on the mountain, and once you go to the top of the mountain, that's when you just want to publish. Okay, that's the moment that you are actually going to be able to sit down and just like push a button and put it out there in the social media or whatever you want to do. So we kind of like, it's an easy way to actually do this analysis. So cheats, come on guys, like cheats, let's find a way that we can erase cheats from our job. Like they're basically useless. I have seen thousands of offices out there like printing all this paper, and it looks really nice to do analysis and whatever, but like once you like start like giving papers to a client, like the client doesn't really care about the paper anymore. He doesn't really care about the plans. He's looking for like something that is better for him. Like the only thing that I've seen like being used right now are the 3D views. That's like kind of like a view. Like a couple of years ago, in my experience, I still like doing plans with 3D views because they were like more helpful for like people to construct and to do the whole process. And the first time that I came in with this idea, because I was really young at the time, someone told me like, hey, plans are like in 2D views and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, but honestly, like if you see a 3D view, it's actually helping a lot more. And that was like maybe 4 years ago. And nowadays, I've seen like all the offices using the 3D views to explain everything for a project. So 3D views are really important in a project right now. If you want to print something that is in a sheet, print something that is in like in a 3D view, because it's going to be so much helpful for everyone to understand a project. And I'm not saying like 2D views are not helpful, but just we need to kind of consider all what's happening. All the big data that is being used in the project. This is right now for the construction documents phase the biggest problem we have. How do we store the data, but also how can I do tools that are shared with our clients so it's easier to like for them to use all this information. Okay, the bigger the project we have, the bigger the data we are using in a project. So there's like a huge break right now in this area. Like people doesn't know how do we store all the data, how do we share all this data, how can we use the tools from there's like a couple of tools that Autodesk have already, like a kind of BIM 360 and stuff like that. But these tools, honestly, like haven't gone to the moment that are really, really something useful for our clients. And that's something that we are experiencing. So thanks to that, we are doing some tools that actually help our clients to be faster in that way. So CONSTRUBIM has developed like a couple of platforms to control, like to help the control and estimation for the cost of a building, because we realized that most of the contractors, instead of wanting to see a sheet, instead of wanting to use some sort of a schedule coming out of Revit or something like that, they were looking for something even like bigger, more important. So we started like developing different tools that help the contractors kind of just like this is kind of like what we are doing right now. Like instead of giving a sheet, we have developed a platform where we kind of just put the main information a contractor actually needs. So instead of looking to a plan, he's just looking at numbers basically. So he can actually understand what's going to happen in the project, how many people he's going to need to build it. It's linked to the basic model in Revit, but we developed a tool that actually kind of works with Uniformat if you have worked with Uniformats and not master formats. And we kind of link all these to the model, so we can actually just give an easy visualization to the main client. For the contractors, we have like a scheme, like it's easier to actually for them to grab, to understand, to just actually see it in a platform in the web, instead of going with him and coming with a bunch of paper that again is not going to work a lot. So again, these tools and all the things that we are doing, they should be as easy as printing the hello world in the program language. They should be just like that, something really easy to use, something that is practical, something that kind of like I can visit all the information that I need when I need it, and just like doing a couple of clicks instead of just need to do a lot of research to find like a piece or something like that. Should be super easy. And something that is changing as well is that we need to identify who is the client right now, because the client is not just like the client that is paying for the project. We need to know that the client is the guy that is next to me. The client is the person that is going to build. The client is the people in charge of logistics. So every part of the every team member of the project needs different information. So everyone needs a different way to actually read it, to actually be able to comprehend the information. So there's different clients in the project. And those clients, they are not just like, sometimes it's visual programming persons, sometimes are like contractors, med people, engineering. So all these clients, they actually use different information that's coming from my experience. I had the opportunity a couple of years ago to work in a data center, and requires for a data center, they were like completely different to the requires for like an airport, as well as the requires for just a house. Okay, so all these kind of different requires are the ones that are needed for our clients to actually be understand. So delivery may be one of the phases that is having the greatest changes right now in our industry, and that's thanks to the technology again. So, but it's super important that we understand what's happening with all this delivery information that we're giving to the clients. Okay, for this phase. Right now, something that I didn't kind of imagine at all a couple of years ago, was kind of start doing codes for like work. Codes are becoming something really essential for us. So we're using tools as Visual Studio to actually be able to create all these websites and mix these APIs for the Revit applications that we are developing. So yeah, go out there, like try to go farther with these program languages because they're like super helpful. I didn't knew that until a couple of years ago, but this is how we work right now with like developing the tools with thanks to Visual Studio and other like languages. This is a quick example of something that it took us a while to actually develop it, but it's like a clash mapping we develop for our clients because we find out like collaboration has like a lot of problems right now. So we start developing a tool thanks to Dynamo and thanks to some technology that we have from Visual Studio and link it all to the web. So we can give like a really easy way to identify all the clashes for a project to the clients, and a really easy platform for them to actually go to the web and just check what's going on, being able to report it. And that's because we kind of, in CONSTRUBIM, we are like a young equipment, we are like a young teams, sorry. We are really young in the whole company. Like the older guy, I think, is like 35. So the rest of us, I'm like 30, someone is like 32, the other one is like 27, stuff like that. We are like a young company, but we have like the chance to work in a lot of projects, and we still like understanding what's going on with the models, like all the problems they have. So what happened there? Oh. So we still like developing technology, we still like developing tools that the client didn't even kind of request, but it's really important that we experiment with these kind of tools and what can I provide to a client that is gonna simplify his life, you know, as well as for contractors. So, and this is a quick, this is just a quick image of what are we providing to our clients. They kind of go to our platforms, and instead of just like looking for like sheets, like what number is it, it's a really easy way for them to kind of just have like coordination, collaboration between them, that they can actually kind of maintain a track of what's happening in our project. So again, there's no point to actually keep sheets. Right now, we need to understand that the data is the main thing for a project. Like sheets is really nice for us as architects, you know, but the people out there doing the construction, like it's so much easier to see something like this, simplified, easy. They just, if they need the information printed, they just have the option to just print it, and they're going to have a whole document on what's going on the project. So we need to change this. And computational design, just like any other time in history, we are facing new challenges as society. Most of the challenges we have as a society are like inside the cities right now. Okay, so we are facing like climate change, population, education, learning procedures, machine learning is happening, life quality and livability, health, environment, transportation, energy consumption. All of these things are happening inside the city. So if we see and think about design and information are becoming just one entity instead of splitting these two subjects, we can say that today we can say that a project is good thanks to the information that you use to create the project, instead of just saying like, hey, that art is really good, that is looking really nice. Right now, I believe that thanks to the whole change that technology is driving us, like it's more important for a project to have like a really good performance instead of being really attract to our eyes, you know. So I think it's more valuable to actually use the information and use the data tools and I don't know, like things like Ladybug and stuff that some people are developing out there. I think it's so much better to have some analysis like that in your project instead of worry a lot about the design. If you have like really good performance, if you have really good data being used in your project, I think you achieve like a really good project instead of just being worried that it's going to be really beautiful. Because as you know, like design is kind of subjective, so there's no kind of point to focus on that. So cities must be retained when possible, but also the experience we want to provide to the users has to change. So inside the cities, I think we have like this kind of normal activities like going the whole time. So if we are doing innovation in the technology on how we do construction, we also need to do innovation on how we perceive and how we want a city to be used by the users. And the users is us. We need to go out to the city and, I don't know, like, for example, here in San Francisco, you have like plenty of bike lanes. Like where I'm from, that it's a city called Guadalajara. They still like doing bike lanes just like a couple of years ago. It's something kind of new. And the whole thing about having the bike lanes instead of not having the bike lanes, it's a whole perception change for the city. So we need to kind of keep going with this sort of innovation. Like, how can I do something so the users actually have a different experience on this? And thanks to the data, the bike lanes were able to actually start like growing because people start like noticing like the main examples of other parts of the world, but they actually use the whole information of these cities to actually back up a project. So data was included to something that was like just like a really normal concept, if you want to see it like that. But once you put data into the project, you make the whole project even to grow and be better. So even when cities can be built from scratch, computational design is key to be faster, for changes, be efficient, be productive, be capable, and encourages about cities. Architecture, and I will add urbanism, are categorized mainly as art. And if art makes us feel something, moves our emotions, and technology is part of it, we can say that the city represents our culture, it represents our dreams as well, and mostly it represents ourselves. So that's kind of the way I see cities right now. We need to kind of put all the things that we have learned through history, put it all together, and technology has actually given us the main tool to actually being able to do it. So we can actually make one combination of the whole thing between the emotions, between the information, so we can recreate the way we perceive cities. And to finish, we live in cities that are being designed by the abstract, by the part of the art, and the technology that is the science. So I think nowadays we can quantify an emotion. So that's something that I believe is super valuable. We didn't used to have this. We can, I mean, like even right now that I'm saying it sounds kind of really strange for me, but I believe that humankind has been able to actually quantify emotions. So quantifying emotions is actually going to change the whole industry into a next level. That's what I believe for the cities and for the livability of each part of the cities in the world. And again, and just to finish, I think that cities are the future of the humankind. So it's really important that we understand what's going to start like happening in our cities in the next couple of years, what's going to be happening thanks to all the kind of climate change and whatever. I don't believe in catastrophes or anything like that, but I believe it's really important that we start like solving these problems because they're happening. And I don't know if you have experience in anything like that in here, but like for example, just in Mexico a couple of weeks ago, we still having like super like a really dramatic change on temperature. And I arrived to Mexico City like 4 years ago, and that didn't used to happen at all. Like, I think that's kind of really crazy. I've been riding a bike for almost 2 years, and I never experienced like that kind of heat in my life. And I'm like, okay, something is going out there, and technology is helping us to kind of reduce all these things. We need to actually be really conscious what's happening. If we're gonna leave cities to people, and we're gonna leave all the buildings to the people after we die, we need to leave like buildings, and we need to leave cities that are gonna help the future generations in the world, you know. So it's not just about building something, but we need to be really responsible and be really conscious of what's happening out there, so we can leave like a really, really good improvement to the next generation. So that's just like that's my thought, but not from CONSTRUBIM, but CONSTRUBIM is really nice as well. So thanks, guys. Like that's kind of what I have for you today. A quick presentation of what's happening in this in the computational design in a really summarized way, and how we need to change our tools, how we need to change the way we use them, the way we collaborate with others, and again, let's put like the emotional intelligence to the formula, because no one is actually talking about it, and it's super important. I have seen a lot of people trying to learn Dynamo, trying to learn how to script, and a lot of people is just giving up like the first month because it's kind of really annoying at the beginning, and they're not like having the patience enough to actually learn it. And we need to kind of transmit like patience. We need to kind of transmit all this part of the process to the new generation of users, so they can actually start like using the technology in this way. So in my experience, it's not easy. It's really complicated. I mean, thanks to these kind of groups that Cesar and everyone is been working, it's actually really helpful for people out there. And all the things that are in the web, internet, and whatever are helping us, like not just as a community, but like I think they're helping the new generation of architecture. Because honestly, right now, the job that I actually have it thanks to the internet, because the university like was really good, but didn't teach me anything of the computational design or the visual programming. You have to pick it up. You have to like go and fight. You have to go and take the risk. You have to understand what's going on with your intuition and what's going on with the prediction. You need to kind of be a future reader, so you can actually start like doing visual programming, because that's kind of the way I believe it works. When you're doing like a script and you're developing like a new project, you're actually thinking about the solutions and all the problems you might face even before you actually have problems, you know. So you are like solving in a way that wasn't possible like a couple of years ago. Like again, the fastness that scripting is actually giving us to solve things is amazing. I think like honestly, going back to the example of the dream that I had about architecture at the beginning, I hated it, but when I actually met visual programming, I was like, man, this is the whole thing for me right now. You know, I kind of love it. Once you understand the visual programming and how does it works and all the tools that you have, it's super, super, super fun. I think it's giving us like a new experience as users. Like, you know, like in Revit, you have to create like these kind of walls to start like playing around. And right now with Dynamo, it's just like, hey, you know, like I don't want to use even like walls anymore. I want to go straight for paneling. I want to go straight for structure. I want to go straight for like something else. So my whole kind of brain thinking has changed, and that's thanks to technology, and also that's thanks to the clients and how we see clients and the needs we have these days. So thank you guys. I hope you actually like this, and if you have any questions, like feel free to.
Samuel. I have some kind of comment. Samuel is our first international presenter, and the reason he's here is due to technology advances that enable us to connect easily and transpose the flow of information. Traditionally, I think it's perceived that the center of innovation is something that only happened in first world countries, but the fact that Samuel is here is proof that the beauty of technology is that we cross-pollinate globally, and flow information can also happen in the other direction, south, north, south. And I appreciate you coming here. One of the questions I have for you is, looks from what you described as in Mexico, it's still very new on the computational designers. Yeah. The same happening on the consultant side. Computational design is not only for architects, it's also for structural and EP. Are you seeing some kind of integration that what's happening there? Mm-hmm.
Well, I will say that right now in Mexico, there's not like a lot of people getting involved in this. the few users that are like kind of experiencing like or trying to go to this new sort of technology are kind of fighting a lot to actually understand the technology, because it's not that we can sit with people and just teach them like in one day. Again, it's something that you need to practice for like, I don't know, like for years to get good at it, at this, you know. I remember like in my case, when I started like developing this kind of scripting and working with it, it was really annoying because like some of the basic logics that I kind of understand today, when I was starting, they were like my brain didn't kind of connect anything. So I think that's what's happening over there in Mexico, like and all over around the world. Like we need to kind of change the way we think. So MEP systems and engineering and architects, we are all kind of fighting like kind of change to this new way of thinking. So if you don't get involved in it, you're never gonna kind of do it. It's completely different to what we used to do a couple of years ago. I mean, like even when I was in university, like I was using Revit at the moment, but I didn't have like any kind of Revit course like I had like with AutoCAD. So people was kind of teaching me AutoCAD, but at the same time I was like already knowing like Revit. But then I didn't get like any class from that or any advice for like Revit when I was studying. And the same happened when I started like doing like a BIM management after in my career, like in my work, like just go out there, like start like figuring out how to do it, how to kind of do an experiment with that. And I think that's something that is quite tricky, is that people that is teaching right now is trying to teach things that are, I don't know, like sometimes I see like this kind of master on BIM management, and I take a look to the whole like the schedule for the course, and I'm like, come on, man, like this BIM management course is like super old, you know, and it's just like for like 2 years ago. So the industry is changing, like it's changing super fast, super fast. So we need to kind of, instead of learning, I think the whole problem right now, or the big problem right now, is that we need to start like doing innovation on what we are doing, instead of just waiting for someone to kind of come with us and tell us how to do it. Like that's kind of the typical way it used to, and right now we need to change that. We need to innovate the whole time. We need to innovate in the way we do the script. We need to innovate on how we give the information to our clients. We need to do the innovation for everything, because otherwise, like, this technology doesn't work at all if you are not doing innovation for it. So that's, I don't know if that's kind of the answer for it. But
I was just wondering if you've used the scripting that you've used has helped kind of the interchange between architects and engineers, because they're coming from two very different perspectives, and yeah, is that helping, or is there blockage?
It's helping. Like, I wish like I could like instead of give models to exchange information, I wish I could give just database to exchange the information, you know, like points, coordinates, stuff like that, because it's so much accurate, so much easier to use, like the way I see it. But sometimes even when I'm doing all this scripting, and I know like I have all these super good data that is super valuable in the project, the client, well, contractors or people that you are working with, like normally they still want a model. They still want to see like a geometry, and they prefer to analyze the geometry instead of just getting all the outputs that, I don't know, like I have stored like a couple of projects, instead of having like the geometry in a software. What I do with my models is that I find ways to put all the information in an Excel sheet. So I have like a building just in numbers and database. So I prefer to use that kind of information because it's more accurate, more easy to kind of just exchange with the contractors. So, but at the end of the day, if they want a model, I use the information from the script to actually share the models with them in a really easy way. So yeah, I don't see like a big problem there. Like, it's just what they want. So if they want a model, I just, instead of putting it in a database, I just give them the model, and it's really easy. They understand the models really well. At the beginning, for example, in a couple of projects, they used to ask me a lot of the models. When I started, like, they were like using Grasshopper and stuff like that, and Rhino. So they figured out that I was working in Revit, And right now, something that is funny for me, but I think it's good because I don't know how to use Rhino at the moment. But something that is good for me that these people actually start like asking for the Revit models because they actually prefer the Revit models because of the BIM process that Revit offers, and they don't have it in Rhino. So I think that's something important that we kind of like BIM should be like something basic right now. Like some people are already doing machine learning or artificial intelligence, and if you are not doing just BIM right now at this stage of your career or your project, like you're like way behind them, you know. So BIM should be something like it's already included in your project, just like since when you're starting the project. I don't know if that answers the question, but kind of, I believe.
We have another question. Thanks a lot for coming to the country. This is amazing and show how international we are right now, like community. I'm interested in how innovation happened in the CONSTRUBIM. Is like top-down approach or bottom-up? I mean, they provide you the workflow, or you have just kind of freedom in this kind of process?
Well, in CONSTRUBIM, I love it, and one of the reasons that I love it is because we have like this kind of free thinking in the office. You know, once in a while, our boss comes with us and he's like, "Hey guys, I need you to develop something like this." So we kind of talk between the main team, the ones that we are using like the visual programming. There's like we have like a person that is super good for programming Visual Studio and all this stuff and going for the APIs of the softwares. So she's amazing for that. So we kind of just share the ideas together, and we start like looking around and playing around with the technology to see how can we find a solution, what's the best way. We have like sometimes when we are doing like scripts for like improvement, we kind of just like rerun the script like, I don't know, like 50 times and stuff like that. We break it and we start like doing like a different way to actually build the script, because even when we have been playing with the script for a while, we already start figuring out that if you use the script in a way that you didn't use it before, it's actually going to be so much better, and it's going to be even faster, you know. I don't know if you have had the chance to actually, instead of doing all the nodes in Dynamo and stuff like that, when you actually type all the nodes and just start like writing the nodes instead of just kind of using the nodes, the way the machine behaves is completely different. So with the information that our projects have, because right now we have like really big projects, we need to kind of take advantage of everything. We cannot be kind of leaving everything to the node. So we need to kind of just start like writing everything. If we can actually do the whole thing like in Visual Studio and the whole task with Visual Studio, because of the data that we are like dealing with, we actually do it with Visual Studio, because Visual Studio, we have this application that is like for extraction of parameters and information, for example. But I mean, we're dealing with millions and millions of parameters. So we kind of need to extract that in a really short period of time. So not even Dynamo is kind of strong enough at the moment to actually do stuff like that. So that's what we need to evaluate. What are we going to do? How we're going to do it? And what's the best application out there right now to do it? So yeah, we have this free kind of free thinking, and we can talk between the group members of the company to kind of find solutions. So that's kind of the way we do it. We share the information. Someone knows more about this, someone knows more about this. There's people actually in CONSTRUBIM that are really good for construction. And even when we are doing our models and stuff, we actually go and talk to them about if the model we are doing is good enough, you know, because the contractors and the people that is doing the construction, sometimes the architects are doing all these pre-models and they show it to the client and they look like super gorgeous and stuff. But the people that actually knows construction, they understand like sometimes if you're not paying attention to the details, the model is useless as well. So we kind of need to do a complete flow around us. So that's kind of how we work.
any tools that you are using in the CONSTRUBIM aside of Dynamo and BIM Studio?
Well, there's like something that's happening in CONSTRUBIM right now is that we used to be a lot of architects at the beginning and a lot of people that is related to this. But right now, like half of our office are programmers. Are not just like architects anymore, because all the information, again, all the things that we're doing, we are not using just there's a couple of people that are using like Grasshopper. A guy used Digital Studio. I don't know if you have used Digital Studio. I don't use it a lot, but he knows how to work with Digital Studio, and Digital Studio actually is super good. I have seen some of his models are like really good, and the way he does it. He also used Visual Basic to kind of model. Well, we use a lot of Excel. We actually use a lot of storage in the clouds right now. So the clouds are something like that has to become something basic in your company. Otherwise, you're like kind of out of the market again. So I don't know, like tools are changing all the time, right? Like in my case right now, I'm actually kind of learning some Python programming because I figured out like Python is super powerful and I actually love it. I haven't become like an expert for it, but if you take advantage of these kind of tools and all the things that you can mix with the softwares, like as much as you can get, like go for it, use it. And I wouldn't recommend just to kind of use one tool. But again, one of the things that I believe are really difficult right now is that at the end of the day, you have work to deliver to a client. You need to spend time working because that's what actually gives you like the whole job. But you also need to find time to actually learn of the new things that are coming out there, you know, because when I'm just like sitting and working, like I know someone is like doing some upgrade for Python, you know, I know like someone is doing some upgrade for Revit. I know someone is doing some upgrade for Dynamo and for Grasshopper and for Visual Studio and stuff like that. So that's something that is really important. Like I don't like to focus like in a lot of applications if I haven't learned to use one application at the best as possible I can, you know. So I believe it's better to actually being able to have like 2 to 3 really good software or really good applications, and the rest of the team members that can actually have like another abilities. So that's going to make us powerful, because one person is not able to actually have the whole knowledge of everything. It's impossible. So I believe the importance here is like how many team members are doing different stuff to you instead of just focusing on what tools, you know, because if someone is doing like 3 different apps and I'm doing 3 different apps or softwares, that's going to be 6, you know, and keep going like that instead of just kind of master just the 6 between all of the team members, because that's going to be kind of really difficult to happen. So that's the way I see it.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, if you want to see how our apps work or whatever, just again contact us in the CONSTRUBIM webpage, and we can show them more clearly what's going on with our applications, what we're doing. I didn't want to focus like too much on that, but if you want to experience what we are doing, just give us a call and we can show everything to you guys. So thanks.
Before we break, this is the first time we're recording the session in 360 video. So
Yeah.
we're going to see how it comes out. So whoever was closer to the camera will be there in full detail. And next, for August is our 2nd anniversary, so we're going to try to do a live streaming in 360.
Yeah.
So what we're planning for our anniversary is to do a joint session between all the Dynamo user groups at the same time.
Nice.
It's like a Dynamo block party. Stay tuned. Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.